The New Britain Board of Education, providing students with a high-quality education.
Good evening. Today is Monday, June 6th, and I'd like to call this meeting of the New Britain Board of Education to order. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Reyes, if you would lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you could call the roll.
Ms. Gail Sanders Connolly.
Here.
Mr. Merrill Gay.
Here.
Mr. Joseph Listrell.
Here.
Mr. Anthony Kane with a C.
Yo.
Ms. Monica Dawkins. Mr. Anthony Kane with a K.
Yeah.
Mr. Matthew Marino. Ms. Annie Parker.
Here.
Ms. Diana Reyes.
Here.
Ms. Tina Santana.
We do have a quorum. All right, so, I'd like to have a moment of meditation, especially for Mr. Rivera, who tragically passed away, one of our teachers at De Loretto School, and all of the students and the teachers at Uvalde. Thank you. All right, we will have public participation. First up, Mr. John Board. Please state your name, address.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education. John Boyd, 37 Highland Terrace, New Britain, Connecticut. It's that time of year again, back in front of you for the yearly LGBTQ plus Board of Ed resolution. This year it was a great collaboration between President Sanders Conley, Joey Listrell headed it up, and as well as input from Tina Santana. You guys have the resolution in front of you. The one key thing that I will highlight this year is that on behalf of us and the New Britain delegation, we were able to get the funding for the model inclusive curriculum through the legislature, have the governor sign that. That is highlighted in this year's resolution, and obviously we look forward to your support and hopefully potential implementation of that curriculum after it comes out of the commissioner's office in 2023. With that, I know we don't have room for any questions, comments, or concerns, but obviously you guys have my contact information if there's anything. So thanks so much and have a good one. And once again, thank you for your constant support over the years, Superintendent Sarah.
I would read this to say, Mr. Alderman Castero, Alderman Russell, and Alderman Costa are with us tonight. So Mr. Castero, you are up. Alderman.
Thank you. Paul Catanzaro, 250 Hillhurst Avenue, New Britain. A proud dad of an elementary school student and on the city council, but more a dad today. I'm pretty emotional. Obviously, the events that happened not too long ago shook all of us up real bad. If not, they should have. It's not the first time it happened. It's happening way too much. So I'm here to ask. We put away $2 million in the city for the Board of Ed. I believe we're going to use for ADA. ADA is very important. I get it. It's needed. But unless our schools are safe, that won't mean a damn thing. We've done a great job. I know Alderman Smedley works his butt off trying to secure our schools with what we have, with cameras and so forth. Can always do better. Nobody should get into schools. So I'm asking, to redirect that $2 million towards security, whatever that may be. I'm not a security expert, okay? Whatever. But we have to do better. If we think it can't happen here, we are mistaken. We have locked doors and we have cameras. Locked doors with regular doors and regular glass that somebody could just break in. You know, doors with alarms, I don't know if we have those. Fences, people walk around perimeter, whatever. People, we don't want it to look like a prison on the outside. I don't care. I don't care what it looks like on the outside. My concern is the same amount of kids that go to school in the morning, come home at night, that they could feel safe while they're in that building, because they're not safe now. If you think every time there's a lockdown or whatever happens in the school, the kids aren't scared, forget about it. And they can't learn that well when they're scared. I've heard many stories is anytime the PA clicks, one kid jumped under the desk and it was just a regular announcement. So we're not going to cure everything, but you know, we can do better. So I think $2 million, again, ADA is very important, but I think at this time, we can't do nothing with the gun issue. We can't do nothing with the mental health. That's a long term. They're going to debate that until the cows come home. But what we can do now is make our school buildings safe. So I ask you, and I'm going to do this again Wednesday night at the council meeting. So I thank you for your time, and I'm sorry I got a little emotional. Thank you.
I was going to say one or two moves for the microphone.
We're gonna have to move your seat.
So, Joanna,
You know who you are.
thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education. My name is Joanna Bronhardt. I'm a resident of 75 Green Street in Britain. I want to share with you information how my son was neglected by the Britain School District and how we had fully advocated for him. Kyle is third grade student at Smith School. He has IEP for speech and language since first grade. When he was in second grade, we noticed he struggled with reading and writing. Also in the second grade, he was punished by his teacher for not performing one or test. His teacher took recess away from him multiple times. Kyle had to write a letter to me to apologize. I was planning to retain Kyle in the second grade, but we were advised not to. The support was promised by the principal for the next school year. Evaluation was requested for Wilson reading program, and this was documented in his IEP. Yes, Wilson evaluation was completed in September 2021. Kyle scored very poorly, but services were never offered to him. We hired a private tutor to help Kyle, but he was still behind. I requested PPT meeting in December 2021 to discuss my concerns and to request testing to be done. The process was started, but Smith School didn't follow parents' guidelines for special education in Connecticut. Examples. Achievement test was done, but I never signed the consent. After PPT meeting, I wasn't provided with copy of IEP in 5 school days. I received a copy 1 month after the meeting when I requested. I requested full school records to be released to me. Took them almost 2 months instead of 10 school days. Also, the files were incomplete. Multiple emails were missing with my concerns. When we had poor communication with Kyle's third grade teacher, to my understanding, teachers are there to support students. Mrs. Salimini saw red flags, but she never shared any concerns with us. After all evaluations were completed and we had answers, Kyle has learning disability. He has dyslexia. He missed 5 months of services because of Smith School staff didn't do their job. Finally, he's getting appropriate services with compensatory hours. I lost confidence in school's Smith staff, and I'm requesting Kyle to be transferred to a different school. I requested Di Loreto. I'm not getting the clean answer from Mr. Foreign. He states in his emails that most likely Kyle would get a spot in Di Loreto. Also, I was promised transfer to Di Loreto by the Director of Pupil Services. But now he states he never promised this to me. This school year was very challenging and put my family in emotional distress because of Smith School staff did not recognize Kyle's learning disability. Superintendent had multiple opportunities to reach out to me. Some emails were CC'd to her. Phone calls to her office, she never responded to me. We had one phone call conversation on March 28th for the first time. She promised me she will follow up, and she never did. Educational leaders should be to support our kids, not punishing them for not doing well in school. They should have a vision and plan to our kids. Not every parent knows how to advocate for the kids. And our kids deserve better, and this town is ready for better change. Thank you.
Alderwoman Costa.
Good evening. So I thought I would come tonight. Thank you for canceling caucus so that so many of us could be here. Because usually we can't come on Mondays for these meetings because we have caucus. It's Nancy's, Superintendent Sarah's last meeting. And I thought we would be remiss not to acknowledge the many years of service that she's given the city. Her advocacy of students, of educators, her advocacy for the city of New Britain, of bridging gaps, of building relationships. And it wasn't always perfect all the time, and we didn't always agree, but progress has been made. Our students are better for your leadership. Our staff is better for your leadership. Programs have been built. And in spite of the last couple of years, which were tumultuous for everyone, in every industry, municipalities, I work in the financial district, and I can promise you it was a tumultuous couple of years. We didn't know how to navigate a pandemic. None of us did. Parents didn't, employees didn't, no one knew how to navigate that. We all did the best we could. I truly believe that. I believe that we all did the best that we could. And so, Superintendent Sarah, I want to thank you, and I'm sure there are many people that want to thank you for your many, many years of service, for your leadership over the last several years of the district. I think that we are better for you. I think that we have opportunities to grow, because I always think that we have opportunities to grow. Gail will tell you I ask a million questions. My peers will tell you I ask a million questions. I think that we have opportunities to grow everywhere, but I think you've set the stage for that. And we are grateful for all that you've done. So thank you. And I hope that you enjoy your retirement.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will just say it takes the team. And we've worked hard together. We have. We haven't always agreed. Well, does anybody ever agree with me? No. All right. Would anybody else like to address the board? Anybody else like to address the board? Last call. Would anybody else like to address the board? Thank you very much. All participation is now closed. So item number 2, we have a resolution. Mr. Listro.
All right. I'm happy to present this year's resolution declaring June 2022 as Pride Month. Pride Month is a time to celebrate the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community while remembering the struggle and sacrifices made by the advocates and allies who worked and continue working to make a more inclusive society. Despite state law banning discrimination, harassment, and intimidation towards LGBTQ+ people, Inequities, including homelessness, poverty, mental health issues, and substance abuse, continue to persist among our youngest and most vulnerable youth. In 2021, legislation to require the State Department of Education to create a model curriculum inclusive of LGBTQ+ and gender studies that will be available for use by school districts in 2023 was introduced as House Bill 6619, with the start in advocacy coming from New Britain Pride. It was eventually passed and signed by the governor, embedded within the Budget Implementer Bill, Senate Bill 1202. By recognizing Pride Month, we reaffirm our commitment to support other policies, practices, and curricula that honor and respect LGBTQ+ students, staff, their families, and all people in our community, including a commitment to review and consider board policies specific to transgender and gender nonconforming students. The Consolidated School District of New Britain commits to ensuring equitable access, equal treatment, and full inclusion of all people, regardless of sexual orientation and gender identity. The New Britain Board of Education designates June 2022 as Pride Month to inspire equity, create alliances, and celebrate diversity. And I'd like to thank New Britain Pride and John Board especially for bringing this resolution forward and all the work done in the community to support it. So thank you.
Thank you. A motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. One of my favorite times of the year is staff recognition. So we're going to have 6 people that we're going to recognize tonight. 3 para-educators and 3 teachers of the year. You want to do it, have them come up all at once?
Yeah.
Because this is like your final.
I know.
It's like your final one.
I'll call them, and then I do believe that.
Do we have all the
Mr.
principals here, or
We have Mr. Liggins here, Mr. Ortiz, Ms. Butterfield. Is Ms. Pelvey here?
All right, so first, the Paraeducator of the Year for 2020, 2022, so it's 2 years. Miss Jessica Maldonado. Oh, it's 2 years ago.
No, we're doing last year and this year
That's
because
right.
we weren't able to come together last year.
Got it.
So we're going to bring them in. They thought they would get away with it, but they are not. 3. 3 years. It's been 3 years.
That's crazy. Okay. Miss Monica Rios Ledesma.
Yeah.
I know. Never know these days. Thank you.
We're going to get a group shot at the end, so maybe
Yes.
you want to just stand up by the doorway there, and we'll have
Okay.
you all come up for a group shot.
And then Victoria Mascara. Not here? I don't know. Do you want to do them separate? All right. And then for our teachers of the year, so 3. So 2020 is Francesco Carriera.
And when we were giving you this award, you were getting married. Have you been married like 5 years? And it just
And then Miss Sarah Normandin. For 2020.
Miss Booker, I didn't see you behind the podium. I'm sorry.
And then Mr. David Hemme for 2022.
Alright, what is it, go on here, we'll take a picture. You guys want to come out, we'll
Do we
take a
have
picture.
somebody, do we have, somebody to take a picture?
We do, Andrea Foligno.
Oh, Andrea, you're hired as her.
Andrea, can you take pictures? Ryan is not here.
Yeah, I would say go closer.
So, well, yeah, let's just come in, we'll do like a semi-circle, you guys go in front. we'll go in the back.
You put
Who got the camera now?
You're putting you in charge?
Everybody.
Yeah. Oh. You're always making it a competition.
My thumb will not be in it.
You guys go. You guys go. You guys are the superstars. That's it. Yeah, I know. No, that's okay. I'm good with that too.
Franco's never in front of the camera.
So he does all the smaller videos, doesn't he?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Franco, we should have had you do a selfie for all of us. Amazing educators. You guys are awesome. Sandra, are you talking about that? You are. The floor is yours.
Good evening. They asked me to say a few things tonight. She said brief, but I like to talk, so at any time just cut me off. So I first wanted to start by saying I worked with Franco for 4 years, and any conversation I've had with Sarah, I've been amazed by her. So it's such an honor to be recognized the same night as you two, and being told I'm in the same league as you. So, yes. So I'm from Missouri originally. I moved here 11 or 12 years ago now. I feel like I've been here forever. And my first apartment was 160 Main, 3rd floor, right before they built the new police station. 2 weeks after I moved in, they started construction, and that was how I woke up every morning. So I've been in New Britain for about 11 years. Taught in Hartford. Came to Hartford, and I knew I was a good teacher, but what I'm excited about is New Britain made me a great teacher. And I couldn't do it without Lori Butterfield and Alex Ortiz, because they have not been afraid to let me do the crazy things that might not be very conventional, and they're like, oh, you do you. And it always seems to work out. And then they're always there to encourage me when I don't feel comfortable or confident enough in my own craft, and letting me know how to get better. I think New Britain is an amazing community. I know our kids are probably the best in the world. Yes. And to me, this is an opportunity I want to take the next year with whatever this journey is to really put New Britain on the map. And it shocked me, but Connecticut's never had a state teacher of the year, and it should have been Franco or Sarah, definitely. But I would love to be that first one just because it puts New Britain at the table. And I think a lot of the issues with our district are we're not at the table. People aren't thinking about us, and they need to watch out because we're awesome. And then I just want to end it with, you guys already did a moment of silence for Ish, and I appreciate that. I got to work with him really closely the last 4 years, and he made a huge impact on me, and I want to dedicate whatever my journey the rest of this year goes to him. And I was going to end with a moment of silence, but you guys already did it, and I just wanted to say one more time, I love you, Ish. So, thank you. Thank you.
Does anybody else want to say anything? No?
Hi. I'm a little shorter than I thought down here. I just wanted to take a second and just say thank you. Being recognized for this award has truly been my dream since I walked into convocation right before my first year of student teaching. And it was a goal that I had set for myself, and it was a goal I did not think I was capable of achieving, especially so early in my career, and I'm just so humbled and so incredibly thankful for all the opportunities I've been given, and for the amazing leadership that I've had, and for all of the amazing colleagues that I've had, and above all, just the most incredible students and families. Without them, none of it would be possible. So thank you so much.
I was like,
Sorry, no pressure.
You did this. I am not much of a talker, so I will just want to say thank you to you and the opportunity that you gave me with implementing STEAM. I think it's an incredible program. It allows myself, our students to have that hands-on, minds-on learning that is not necessarily in a textbook, and it gives students, and I've said this many a time, it gives students who struggle to read, struggle to write, an opportunity to just build and express themselves in a way where they can explain it and do and be successful and have pride in what they're doing. So I really want to thank you for implementing that program. I know we started off with implementing it in our extreme program, and one of the questions that you asked was, how can we bring this to our classroom? And you did it. You really did it, and I think it's an extremely useful program that we have in our curriculum, and I think other schools and other districts should take a look at what you did for our district, because I really do think it's amazing. And I want to thank Mr. Foran as well for everything that he's done for our district, and let's just continue to push for our students, because I know that's what we need, because no one else is doing it for them. So I want to thank you all. I want to thank Andrea. She's not shy at all, by the way. If you need any tech help, she will do it for you.
Push the red button.
Push the red button. But no, I really do want to thank you as well. You, much like you mentioned about your admins, you allow me to be me. You allow me to do what I can for our school, and I don't just think about our students, I actually think about the whole school. If staff are struggling, I try to help them out. And that's just who I've been, and I think that goes a long way. And if we can keep on hiring teachers, much like ourselves, who continue to push for our staff and our students, then we'll be moving in a great direction, and I think we are already. So thank you.
will entertain a motion to go into an executive section for administrative appointment with the full board, Mary Ellen Manning. Superintendent, yes.
Anybody
No. Nope. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? If you can say no. All right, we are back in session. I will entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Mr. Nathan Ziegler to the Coordinator Special Ed Secondary level.
Moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? No, okay. Any abstentions? We're all here. Okay, welcome aboard. All right, superintendent report.
Super quick. My last one.
Your last one.
So I'll just drag it out for half an hour.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Jeff, in advance, because I know you helped us out. I wanted to show you, you have your stickers, Radiate Positivity, and I'm hoping that Kristen's just going to show you what's up on Instagram. And while she's doing that, I can always be a space filler. Oh, we're going to watch it right now.
Oh, I saw this.
Oh, you did? So they have a social media committee at the high school, which consists of Tajay, who is a graduate of New Britain High, but now works in our partnership office. Is that Myra? Oh God, that looked like Myra. Sandra's on it, as well as Ryan Langer and Antoine Billy, and I'm missing one person. I am. Anna Duffin. That's it. But it's about radiating positivity and just starting to, you know, change that image that, I can't remember who got up and spoke about that, but it's true. And now we really can't hear it or see it. But I just wanted you to see, so follow them on Instagram. And it's just to kind of, you know, put spirit in the high school and all around. And I don't think we're gonna see it. So while I'm gonna keep going through it, Kristen. Before the meeting's over, if it comes on, we'll stop and watch, okay? I did want to recognize our Health Academy at New Britain High School, who has, they have received distinguished status, which is the highest. That's the highest recognition. It's a significant accomplishment for the staff, for the kids, just for the building in general. So I thought we'd bring that up. Also, Carnegie Mellon, we had our high school students exploring computer sciences, which is not my thing, but it certainly is a lot of our kids' thing. Programming and computer science should be fun and engaging, and that kind of skipped our generation. So anyway, Michelle Pucknell, she's 9th grader, was recognized for her creative task and received some swag and awards and a pin from the prestigious university. And again, right down below is social media team kicked off and hashtag NBHS Radiate Positivity campaign. You can read through it. I don't want to read everything. Congratulations to Casper Adamus, Faris Ahmed, and Michelle Pucknell's submission titled Scan It, Pick It. It's been chosen to be highlighted at the 2022 Lieutenant Governor's Computing Challenge, which will take place Wednesday. This was exciting too for us. While we had 2 awards for the Halo Awards, which are the Tony Awards, basically, for high school students. I said that right? So we had 4 nominations. We walked away with 2 for, one was Dallas Bastek, who I've known since she was 5 years old. Let me just get her first. Oh, there she is. She won a Halo for Best Costume Design and Execution. And then the second Halo went to Senior Miguel Pagan. He got for Best Actor in a Supporting Role. And the nominations, they didn't get the award, but they were nominated. Ethan Roy, who was also a senior, for Best Actor in a Leading Role, and Andrea Sims, also Best Actress in a Featured Role. And they also received, there was one other, it was an overall for Best Picture, or Best Musical.
Best musical.
That's it.
Best musical.
Okay, and then the other thing, go down to the high school. I mean, you could just see the wall. It's beautiful the way they painted it, and so. But that was a student assistance center led by Gino Ayala. But they did a Unity Festival, and that's been ongoing. A lot of partners were involved with this. This is after school. The kids were working on this wall. It's beautiful. The artwork is gorgeous. So drive by. It's really kind of nice there. We also supported the Wear Orange Day, which it's new for me. I didn't realize that was, but we gave a little bit of the history, which is very sad that orange has become the defining color of the gun violence. And so in support of all of the violence with guns, mass shootings, individual shootings, suicides, we stood up and wore orange. Also a really nice shout out to Jefferson Elementary. Their string ensemble went, they supported Ukraine through the Humane Society. They went and did a concert for the animals, which was quite wonderful in a way of giving back. And then I also wrote down there's some senior activities that are coming up. Don't forget, graduation ceremony is Thursday, June 23. We know that we have to be there early to put our caps and gowns on. This will be the last time I'm walking, I know. And there is a rain delay just in case. And that's what I had for tonight. I went through it quickly enough. A little over 2 minutes, but.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
But before anybody else does their board reports,
I know.
Oh, God.
I'm not even gonna speak because,
Because we've been fighting for 6 years.
we've been fighting for 6 years. Right, who am I gonna fight with? It's been awesome. Who am I gonna fight with?
I don't know, you scare me every time
But no, like, in all honesty, we appreciate you. I do wish, like, I had thought to bring like Nick, Violet, and like form that we're on a little bit longer than Mr. Kane.
I've known Mr. Kane
I know, but
since
you've
his
known him for a
kid
long
was this
time.
big.
Well, I'm gonna talk to you about it.
Yeah, I don't want to.
So, I mean, we wish you nothing but the best, and I hope you just enjoy those kids and run around after the pigs and chickens.
I'm gonna keep running after them. Thank you. Wow, those are gorgeous. I'm finally graduating. I'm ready to go to school. That's awesome. It's them, right? We do it for them.
Yes.
Yeah. It's been an amazing journey. I will say that. It's been really every day is a new learning experience. I wouldn't change anything. I don't think. Maybe the gray hair. I've been changing that though. I just so you know that.
Got that under.
Yeah, certainly a lot of learning. Probably didn't make everyone happy all of the time, but I tried to make the best decisions given the context and where we're at. So, thank you for the opportunity, really. I mean, you took a chance, right? And it's been a great ride for 6 years. I think we've done lots of great things for New Britain's kids.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that data presentation
I
will
know.
show. So,
let's get on.
yeah, like, we'll do board reports. I
Yes.
apologize for that. I thought that was perfect timing.
And I'm gonna, Christina, while you're doing it, I'm gonna have to shout out a couple of our principals because I just have to.
Yeah, so board reports, hold on, where am I? So committee reports, I apologize.
Oh, sorry.
Committee reports, finance.
Finance, we met last week, and we went through quite a few donations. We also approved a few purchase orders, some questionable, especially in the areas of computers. But Mr. Porkup explained those very well in addition to more in-house computer work and camera purchases we went over with the family. One area that we did touch on, which kind of Sheldon and Combs was still here, is that school safety is an area of concern of mine and the other finance committee members. So we did ask Mr. Smedley to kind of prepare a presentation for the public on school safety. I had to study school safety last year for my 092 training, and just looking at some of the things that we're doing, but also some of to improve it, but also areas that we can improve upon. So it is going to be a future. He said he's going to promise us he would get it soon, and it is something I do plan on addressing with my time on the board. We're going to get that school safety improved as much as we can, and it's not going to be cheap. A lot of our buildings are.
Cost money.
It's going to cost money. I mean, the high school alone, the mayor and I have gone back and forth on it. I've talked about some of the other schools we have. It's not going to be cheap.
All right, thank you.
One thing I do want to add is that you mentioned you've known my family.
Can we wait till board reports? Then you could, I know,
Fine.
sorry.
Okay, I think he was gonna give me a compliment.
I know he was, sorry, go. Yeah, he's gonna.
Wait, is this gonna take it back?
I know, he'll rethink. All right, no, so personnel.
Okay, personnel, we had a few revision of job descriptions and approved some new positions, and that was pretty much it. Not much else.
All right. Curriculum, not here. Policy.
Policy, we talked about school uniforms, the fact that we suspended the uniform policy for a couple of years, and decided to do a survey that we will be hearing about later on in the meeting.
All right. Board reports. Mr. Kane.
Okay. As you said, we had it before, you've known my family for years, my nieces, my nephew, my son.
Your parents?
Parents, many times. They warned me. But also at the same time, I got to see you firsthand, both when I was on the school governance council for Jefferson. You and I worked hand in hand.
Yeah.
I still quote the time that you and I sat down when Joey had a problem with a teacher. I was fuming, ready to pull him out that day, and you sat down with me and we worked it out, and I was very impressed. I use that sometimes in my principal training too, as an example. But I still remember a conversation I had with Joey, my son, he was 6 years old, and I was trying to explain to him that I was going to be on the search committee interview process for the superintendent of schools, and he goes, "What's that?" I says, "I'm going to go interview the person that's going to be Nancy Sarah's boss." He goes, "Dad, how could anybody be her boss?"
Talk to my kids. Yeah. Or my grandkids.
But as a testament, you taught my niece, who's now a para teacher at Hartford.
Yeah.
My other niece, who just got hired as a school teacher in Myrtle Beach.
Oh.
And you also helped me do my training to become a teacher too, so thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Tony.
Ms. Parker.
Oh, yes. This week, my friend who won't allow me to be retired got a group of retired teachers together, and we did a donation of books to the Boys and Girls Club and the YWCA. So Nancy, I'm going to put you on the list. So
I knew it. It's Sue, right? I know. I'll do it.
Maybe I can retire.
Hey, no, I'll bring you with me. We'll do lunch.
Okay.
Can I say one more thing? I'm just going to put a plug in here. So, first of all, thank you for all the people that came out to the retirement party. It was a great time, but I think the more important thing is Mike's family and my family have started scholarships for students in New Britain. And anyone who would like to contribute to the scholarship fund can go on Community Foundation and read the descriptions for both. Of course, I'll say probably mine is better. I don't know. But anyone, it's just paying it forward, right? I feel like we have a lot of privilege, and we've got to share that. So, Mike, did you want to say anything?
He's still got 2 more board meetings, right?
You're going to save it?
I'll have more time to talk when you're gone.
I don't think so. I have Laura's cell phone.
It's funny, Mike, I've known you longer than I've known her, so.
He's a lot older.
No.
Just a couple of things. I also was just really excited about the Halo Awards. I was following that. I went to Pulaski's concert the other day, and these kids were so talented. I was really impressed with one of the teachers who created a garage band, and these kids were going after school. And there was one girl who went from playing the guitar to the drums to the violin, and it's just amazing. These kids are they were just so great. I just have to throw that out there. And I'm a person of very few words, but I just want to thank Nancy for everything that you've done, and we're really going to miss you.
I know I'm going to miss you too, but I'll be working on the preschool front somewhere else. Yeah.
All right.
We'll get that thing going.
Anybody else?
I'll share something quickly. I went to the Family Fun Day at New Britain Transitional Center last week, I think it was. And it was really nice to see so many parents come out with their kids and staff engage with all sorts of activities. That school was really lively that day, and it was really nice to see. I wasn't able to make the Uni Fest at the high school, but I do have high school kids in our after school program that were really happy that it happened, and there was a lot of excitement around it, so I hope that continues. And then finally, thank you to Nancy. I came back to New Britain about 10 years ago with an idea to help out and do school gardens, and you gave me the green light.
So, that was awesome.
You were always there to support that idea, which has really grown over the years. So.
That's because of you. It is amazing. Well, you know what I mean? Just for our kids to put their hands in the dirt, right, and have green around them, that's everything. I'll come back and help you too.
Great.
Okay? I'm going to bring my 6 grandkids up.
They'll help dig in that dirt for sure.
Yeah.
Nancy, I remember walking through the airport, going to the grade level reading conference, and you saying, "What did I get myself into?"
I didn't even know where I was going. I'm like, where am I going? What's this for? And you had to explain, and I just needed like a map, because you were like, well, then this, yeah, that was our first introduction.
Yep.
But it's been great ever since. Just a lot of, and it's nice to know that there's still preschool representation, after school representation here. Finance, people who will drive the next superintendent a little crazy.
Oh, she already started.
We're the idea people, yeah. So anyway.
We're the people that just say no because we don't have the money to do it.
Right. So, thank you.
So for me, was able to attend the OIC gala. I think it's gala. She said gala. I got confused.
Tomato.
I know, tomato. But we did get recognized for like our partnership with them. I thought that was actually super sweet. I do want to remind people that Thursday is our meet and greet with Dr. Gasper at New Britain High, 5 to 7. Let's show him like what hard hitting is about and be right in his face. It'll be good. Right?
Not hard hitting.
Not hard. But Nancy, I don't know who am I going to call?
You still call me.
I'm still going to probably call you.
I know. Well, we'll probably meet up at Arbor Rose.
Probably.
This and half
That's
the
like,
staff
I was
here.
gonna say half
right?
the,
Sandra will
I
be
see
there,
everybody
Mike
at
might
Arbor,
be
you know.
there, we're all there.
We'll meet out in the gardens.
Right.
We'll meet out in the garden.
They have live music almost
But
every
no,
day.
I appreciate you, like, more than you probably know. I know we don't always see eye to eye, and it's usually behind closed doors, so it's not on the floor, but
Sometimes you yell at me while I'm in the car.
I do. But that's my job, right? That's part of my job.
No, but I appreciate the real. I appreciate you saying what it is. I'd much rather have that than the behind the back stuff.
Right, absolutely. And that's, you know what I mean? That's who I am. That's how I always have been, always will be. It's not always well received, but, you know, is what it is. So.
Thank you.
You'll still be on speed dial.
Oh, God, that works.
All right, so next, facilities project update, NBHS ADA.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Is that Rebecca?
Can we turn this one up a little bit, or are you just like that sick that you can't be taking everybody down? All right,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Can you guys all hear me? Okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. As mentioned during our last meeting, we were going to invite Newfield Construction today to give us an update and be here to provide any answers to any questions regarding their newly revised GMP. I want to go through it briefly with you all to point out a couple of things that are very important. The first portion that you'll see here are the 4 big packages here. And the good news is that the initial proposed budget was higher than the bid proposals we received. As you can see going down there, it's a total GMP is 3.183. The initial budget proposal was, the proposed budget was 4.3. If you scroll up, Kristen, if you don't mind, you can go to the beginning. Thank you. If you go down to the format, here you go, yes, right there. One thing I want to mention here is the hazmat monitoring and removals. There's a dollar amount there for $200,000. The initial RFP based on the cap analysis had us carry $150,000 for hazmat, and we only spent approximately $50,000. So we'll receive a credit. But one thing to know is that the ACM removal is needed and could cost upwards of $100,000 in removal. There are everything's broken down here. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is the contingency. If you scroll down a little bit here, scroll right there. There we go. We've included 85,000, roughly 3% of the work there for the contingency, DB contingency, and the owner contingency is roughly 5% for the project. So we're seeking for a motion to approve amendment to the contract at 3.1, again, which is a smaller cost. We're pretty much saving about $1 million approximately in the project. I'm hoping you could all hear me okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, my regrets for not being there, not being able to be there today. I'm not feeling very well.
You feel better?
Thank you. Are there any questions based on what you submitted for the draft?
No, I will save my questions for Mr. Kane when he presents.
I'm sorry?
No, sorry, I said I will save my questions for Mr. Kane when he presents to us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Again, Brian is here with Newfield, so if there are any specific questions to any of the line items, he's happy to assist with any answers there. I'm going to pass it on to Smedley now for the Smith Playground project update.
Thank you, Rebecca. The Smith School Playground update, as you may be aware, the mayor afforded Smith School $150,000 under CDGB for their playground. And I went out to bid for the design and build of said playground. And Creative Recreation was the bid winner through the CDGB bid process. And we just signed the contract, and we will be purchasing all the equipment. There is a 20 to 25 week lead time on playground equipment right now. So playground installation and construction will start in the fall, unfortunately, for Smith. And Ms. Falvey, while she's thrilled, she's aware of the time frame, but they are very happy at Smith to acquire the new playground. It will go adjacent to the lower parking lot. And it will cut into that grass area there a little bit, and it will have a combined poured rubber surface with wood composite. Because of the size of the playground, we have to have some real ground available there as well. And it is completely ADA accessible. There's a handicap ramp from ground level, so wheelchair-based students can participate in all the same activities that an able-bodied student would be able to on the playground. So that's the update on Smith Playground.
What we've all been waiting for. End of year data review.
I'm going to tell you, it's a hard act to follow Teacher of the Year, Pair of the Year, and all the good, I'm excited. This is good stuff, though. It's good stuff. So, hello, everybody. I'm Christina Denegri. I'm Talent Officer for the district. And I just wanted to give you a quick balcony view of the data for end of year. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. I know you've had it ahead of time, but I would be more than happy to sit down with any of you and go deeper into any of the data or answer any questions you may have about the data. So if you take a look at the iReady literacy data, some highlights, we had 7 elementary schools decrease their Tier 3 by 20% or more. The average overall Tier 1 growth across elementary schools was about 19%, and the average overall decrease in Tier 3 across the elementary schools was about 21%. We had 5 schools hit 20% growth in Tier 1 and over 20% decrease in Tier 3. And those schools are bolded and italicized. Some other highlights from the data: we had a 24% decrease in Tier 3 for L students from fall to spring. We also had a decrease of 15% in Tier 3 for special education students. Our Hispanic and Latino subgroup had an 18% decrease in Tier 3. And we also had a 19% decrease. I broke it out, male and female students as well, for our male students, and 18% for our female students. The decrease is almost about 20% for both in the subgroups, for male and female. If you look at the kindergarten literacy data, 60% of our kindergarten students are in Tier 1. 23% of those 60% are at or above grade level, and 37% are early on grade level for Tier 1 in literacy. iReady also affords us the data for students who make their annual typical growth, which is based on a median. And they also give us the information on students that made their stretch growth. Typical growth is what students make in a typical year. Laura and Amy and I can try and explain how it's calculated. I even made a little cheat sheet for you. If you want the cheat sheet, I can pass that out. But it's not, it's based on a median, and if you take a look at, I believe it's the 4th page in, it tells you how the schools fared for annual typical growth and stretch. Typical growth is usually a year or a little bit more. Stretch growth is where we want our students to be because we're closing the gap faster. So we had 5 schools that exceeded their annual typical growth: Gaffney, Howes, Holmes, Pulaski, and Smalley Elementary School. We also had quite a few schools that hit over 50% for their stretch growth. So we're moving in the right direction. So what that means is not only are students meeting the 1 year that they would typically meet, they're going beyond the 1 year, and some of them are even going into stretch, which is basically what we want to see. The other thing is too, keep in mind, the tiers are split out into 3. So you have, or actually 5, you can even disaggregate into 5. And you have to think of those tiers as ladders. So a child can start at the beginning of a yellow tier and end at the end of a yellow tier, and that could be their stretch growth. So you have to keep in mind they're moving within tiers. The best scenario is they move from one tier to another, and that's what we saw a lot of this year, is that kids were not only moving well within their tier, but they were moving out of a tier 3 into a tier 2, and out of tier 2 into tier 1. So that's where we want to be.
Can I just jump
Yes.
quickly to put some narrative to it?
Sure.
And you can breathe for a second. And so when we think about, well, how, what, and it's not just one thing, right? We know that when we get student data, we start to see successes. I mean, it's multiple things happening simultaneously. It really is. One is we have a viable K-12 curricula that teachers have as their fences, right? You need to work within this fence here. We understood that we have to change how we're currently teaching. We have to do something different. Those coaches and the building principals have moved very far this year with supporting teachers and making changes. We're not there yet, and this is a really unfun part of education because we all want the brass ring now. It doesn't happen that way. So now we have a solid curriculum in place. We have the fences in place. We have the materials. We have coaches who are supporting teachers while they're planning, and principals going in to give feedback. All of those are ingredients for success, right? And true success, not success that's, oh, look at that, one and done. We did well here. Our job really, I was reading something from W.E.B. Du Bois this weekend, who was 20th century, and saying that it isn't not millionaires that make up a nation, but it's where we invest in public education, right? We do the investment, and it's not flashy, it's not sexy, it's not quick. It's painful and slow to change adult practice and adult minds. So I will say though, our 6 year and beyond, it's been more like 10, that we've been working on putting these structures in place, and now we will start to see the results that all the hard work all of us have put in. Anyway, done.
No, I agree. I think
I concur.
One of the things that our admins have been doing is they're really taking a deep dive into data, but it's not just looking at progress, it's looking at what is the impact of the instruction having on student outcomes. It's looking at just pulling apart the data, disaggregating the data. Oh, these kids need more support in this, these kids need more support in that. So they're really looking at the data from a lens of how can we meet students where they are, and then differentiate for whole group, small group, even one-to-one. So it's been a lot of discussions this year with administrators, which are then turnkeying it to coaches, which are then turnkeying to teachers. So it's been exciting to watch. In literacy,
I would like to call it Pulaski. I'm just going to have to. I mean, let's catch them while they're doing the right stuff, right? Do you want to just talk a little bit about why 129? What does that even mean? Or is that going to get you into that?
No, I'm gonna do the best I can to explain it. So the I-Ready growth model it offers 2 components of growth measures. There's typical growth and there's stretch growth. For every student in grades K-8, their typical growth is set on their benchmark when they take that benchmark assessment in the fall. That sets their typical and stretch growth. For some students, their typical and stretch are within points. Other students, it's a little further apart. So it's different for every single child. The benchmark shows how much growth is typical, how much growth is stretch. So once that benchmark is taken, it establishes that for the teacher and the child. It puts all students on a path towards proficiency, what they need to get there. What you have to understand is typical growth is an average annual growth for student at their grade and their baseline placement, and it's based on a median. And I can give you all a little cheat sheet, but this was shown to us today, and this is how they establish median growth. They take all the kids, they literally line them all up, and whoever's smack dab in the middle, that sets the median for that grade, that school, the district. And that's how the median's determined. So when you see numbers like 110%, 150, 100, 129, it means those schools not only met their typical growth, they exceeded the typical growth for that school year. Half the students did. Half of them.
And it's hard for teachers. I mean, they're the adults. It's hard for any of us. Let's face it, change is hard. But when we're asking you to change practice, it causes growing pains. It just does. And you might hear teachers upset, or building admins upset, or whomever, right? But if we're using data to drive what we're doing and we're seeing positive results, then we're not saying we're perfect, but we are seeing good movement.
So in math this year, even with our new curriculum, we had 9 elementary schools saw a decrease of 20% or more in Tier 3. We had an average overall Tier 1 growth across the elementary schools of 17% and an average decrease in Tier 3 across all elementary schools for 30%. Out of the 9 schools that saw a 20% or more decrease in Tier 3, 6 of them saw 30% or more. So yeah, the Tier 3 close is incredible. In addition to, we saw a decrease in Tier 3 of 30% for our English language learners and a 24% decrease for our Hispanic and Latino students. And for our male and female students, we saw they tied 24% decrease in Tier 3. We have 38% of our kindergartners at Tier 1. And as we move to typical and stretch growth, again, we saw some really good gains in typical growth, some schools exceeding their typical growth. I just, again, want to shout out Gaffney, Howes, Pulaski, as well as Smith in math for their typical growth gains. I'm going to hand it over to Sandra, who's going to talk a little bit about attendance.
Thank you. I'm not sure if everyone had an opportunity to see this report, but I'll explain what the report is very briefly. And then I just had a thought earlier today about how I think I want to change the report, and I'll explain why. What we do is we do a 10-day analysis for this year at the 10-day mark, the 20-day mark, the 30-day mark, and we compare it to last year. And the report you have in front of you is the 150-day mark, I believe, the 150, but we're actually now at the 160. So I can give you more data. We're at the 160 mark where the data just came in. We look at total students, total chronic, and we compare this time to last year. But as good as this report could be, I want to throw out some caveats. Last year, we were in a different world, different environment, partially hybrid. Able to wake up, go to school, no issues with getting ready, transportation. So when you do that comparison, I want to make sure, even though it looks like we're higher in chronic absenteeism, we're back to almost where we were in an environment like 2018-19, pre-COVID. So moving forward, I'd like to share an 18-19 analysis to the current year, similar to what we do at the state. The state uses our benchmark of 18-19. Even still, I can give some shout outs about chronic absenteeism. And 2 years ago, before COVID, we used to celebrate 3 areas. The school with the best or the lowest chronic absenteeism, the unicorn school that did the best work, and then the school that acknowledged had the best change in their work. So at the 160 mark, I want to give a shout out from this year to last year. Chamberlain had the biggest change in the percentage points. It's a really tight close, so shout out to them for the percentage points. For the school with the lowest chronic absenteeism, it's really tight between Holmes and Gaffney, like 20.21, 20.22 kind of amount. So they both deserve a shout out. So that's a shout out to them. And then our Lincoln, for our unicorns, we call them the smaller learning environments. Howes is obviously phenomenal with at 6%, in the 6% range. But our Lincoln SCS is our unicorn that has the best attendance as well. So to give a shout out to them as well. So we can, so you know, we do look at our attendance at a 10-day mark. We try and get to the root cause. We identify our subgroups and report that to the state, and we are still very much engaged with the state and their Talk Tuesdays and their home visiting protocol and all the other mandates that go along with it. But they too know, and they do give shout outs to our principals here as well, that you're doing everything you possibly can be doing. You're focusing on attendance and you're putting in all your strategies, but sometimes it just doesn't come out with the numbers you want. But we also don't report right at this point in time our attendance. On our middle of the year reporting, we have a middle of the year meeting and an end of the year meeting. We don't really talk about attendance. We talk about all the strategies and the greatness that's happening with our students that are coming to school.
As I look at your data for common absence season, I do notice it seems like one of the entry years of kindergarten, 6th grade, 9th grade.
Transition years. Absolutely.
Years has the highest rate for each of their grades, like the highest elementary is kindergarten, highest middle school is 6th. Is that a trend you see overall, or is it giving theories on that, or how would you correct that?
So absolutely. So that trend is not just New Britain, it's across the nation. They'll talk about those transition years for a variety of reasons. It could be, we have been focusing on kindergarten, 6th grade, and 9th grade. When the FSLs came in, the focus for, and trying to follow them through, excluding the last 2 years, because we were trying to get everybody engaged in the environment and coming to school. But those transition years have been consistently our focus areas. And it's a variety of reasons, that either, for a variety of reasons. I can get to the root cause of some of them, but there's from the nervousness of going to from a smaller school to a bigger school. It could be not sure what it's going to look like. It could be getting to school. It could be, we try and focus with our families and work with our families in a pre-K 5 grade, because it's the families versus the students. They may have their own obstacles, so we try and get to the root cause of what the obstacles are of having the students wake up on time and get to school, or getting them to school. In the middle school, we start advocating. We start working with the students to start advocating for themselves and giving them the responsibility. And then when you get to the high school, the conversations are straightly with the students as they build their own adulting environment. But it is still a struggle, and it is across the board. Since at least since I've been engaged with the attendance, probably those have always been the years that we have to focus on. What was that?
They start progressively earlier. Progressively bigger.
Oh, correct. That's their obstacle. Absolutely.
Well, plus when it was a mandatory 10-day out of school, if you tested positive for COVID.
Well, so that's it, right? Yes. Even this year, now we're full in. COVID's with us. So it's at the 160 days. If you're absent 16 days, you're considered chronically absent. To get off of that list, you maybe could make it, but you cannot miss 1 day. It's 1 day. So at the 10-day mark, we can identify the honeymoon period, we call it, from September to end of October. But if you have COVID or your family member has COVID this year, you miss school. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you. Our second favorite time of the year, superintendent's budget request. And I carry around my book. Smart notes, right? It used to be clip notes. I did. I'm sorry, I dated myself. All right, get a timer.
I'll be quick.
Oh, that was out loud, sorry.
We're done. I'm just going to give a really quick presentation tonight, very quick. The transmittal letter really captures the whole budget, the combined budget. But you really think about it, what you're really adopting tonight is not the whole budget. You're really adopting tonight the general fund budget. The grants are, you're adopting the general fund budget, the local budget tonight. So, for illustration purposes, we provide you everything. But sometimes grants do change and all that, but really as a board, you're adopting the general fund budget. That's what the city's actually forwarded on to the Board of Education, a budget 125.7. So that's really what you're adopting tonight. But I can answer some of your questions. I know Superintendent can probably answer some questions, the grant questions. Sandra Sanford can answer questions. But tonight it's really just the general fund budget. Is that what you really adopt?
So,
Yes.
were you planning on going through this presentation?
No, I'm not going through.
Okay.
No, I'm not going through a transmittal letter. I mean, Mr. Kane said last time you already showed me the transmittal letter. You showed me the slides in the transmittal letter,
Yep.
so don't waste my time showing me slides. All I really want to capture tonight is really to capture the.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, and I understand that. I mean, he said I've read the letter. I don't want to see it again, and that sounds fine. But if you want to go over the slides, the other slides,
No,
that's
I
fine
don't.
too. So when you think about the general fund budget, what I'm just going to show tonight is the changes that happened from January to June. Now, some of the changes may look a little drastic, and I'll explain why. So, next slide, Kristen. Oh, well, really, next slide. This slide is just zero. I'm going to show you a summary comparison by category, which you've seen before in your budget book, staffing changes, and material financial changes. Next slide. So this is just a category. When we look at the category budget, the salaries, it's fringes and insurances, purchase services, and etc. You're going to see the salaries have decreased by $1.5 million. It's not that we lost anybody. It's just that we moved people around between different locations. I'm going to tell you why. Next slide. This was really a staffing changes FTE between the general fund budget, the local budget from January.
Yeah, I do have a question about when
Yep.
you shift to grants. These are grants that are unrelated to SRNR?
These are alliance, and I'm going to explain why.
Alliance.
Okay.
That's
Now, so
all I-
one thing too, when we look at positions, when we approved positions last year, we approved positions, and sometimes with the grants, Alliance and Title I, you have to move new positions in because they don't allow you to take an existing position. So in this case, we actually moved 12 positions that were in this year's budget over to the Alliance. So it's not like we lost anything. At the same time, we actually moved positions from the Alliance, possibly back to the general fund, other locations. So it's really not a loss of positions. If you think about the budget that you had in front of you in January, I think there was 1,806 positions between local, grants, et cetera, ESSA. Today it's 1,803. So we had a change, a net reduction of 3. So this was really a change in the budget. Material financial changes, reduction of $1.5 million. Teacher retirement savings. So every year in January or December, we really don't know who's going to retire in the school district. So we don't really come up with a number. We always realize that we're going to have retirements. And this is at the actual retirements. This is if Kevin King retires as a teacher, I'm making $100,000. We're replacing my position with a $60,000 teacher. It gives you a net savings of $40,000. At the same time, when you look at this, there's also a savings on the grant side. So we do have people who are, Kevin Kane's in the Alliance grant, Kevin Kane retires, we're reducing the savings of $40,000. So it's really a combination of both. This is just on the teacher retirements in the general fund budget. You saw here we shifted 12 positions over to, originally we thought they were going to be in the general fund, but back in January, February, we actually started looking at our Alliance grants and started saying, well, we have a surplus of funds out there, and now we have to make sure we can identify people we can move over. So we identified 12 people, which really are new positions this year, brand new positions in the current year. We moved over to 3 Bridges supervisors, the one in Britton High School, I think it was Slade, and this another one that's combination for schools. We moved those 3 people. Those are high-level employees. We actually increased our custodian staff by 6 people this year. So we took those 6 people, which originally were thought to be in local, we moved those to Alliance. We also have a new position, academics manager, this year. That position initially was showing up in local. It's a new position, so we have the authority to move that over to Alliance. And then we also moved over 2, I would say, clerical staff positions over. So that's where you get the 12 people out there. Now, fringes and insurances, when we look at the budget, this is local again, it's a $111,000 increase. We had a really surprise this year, which is probably the most shocking surprise I've had since I've been here. We've had, our consultant comes up with increases in December, January, and usually we're within a percentage or 2. The proposal that you had in January had an increase in health insurance of 3%. actually the premiums came in May at 11%, which was kind of a shock. And so that was very high. So you're seeing there that increase in premiums really caused a kind of like on both sides, it increased our budget by $1.3 million. We had a couple reductions out there, which we reduced it by. And we actually had to basically reduce our contribution for the health insurance account by $892,000. It's the adjustment. So that had to be reduced. And then there was other decrease in other net change of $119,000. That has to do with MERS and Medicare. Next page.
Do you have any questions before we go on? Okay. Mr. Kane, no questions? Sure.
Okay, next, is that the next slide? I can't see it from here. Okay. Next slide is people services. As the year went on, actually more students were actually, for whatever reason, discipline reasons, we had to move the kids out. And there was, in the January budget, we had a much lower dollar amount out there, and usually in the January budget, we have a pretty good indicator, but things started happening. So we actually had an increase of $925,000. When we look at people services, it's really two things. They do other services like with the magnet schools, and that's for like decrease in other services, but also outside tuition. They're both the same in a way. One is we pay them for the services they offer, and the other thing, we pay them for the outside tuition that they offer. So what you see here is you see a decrease in other services, but we're seeing an increase in outplacements that wasn't expected. And that's where we had a net increase of $900,000. Magnet school tuition was another thing that we'd never seen before. Usually we try to budget the actual. We always see a student or two, and we see a minor increase, but we don't really know what the increase is, so usually I'll budget the actual. So we actually got a letter from the correct magnet schools, and this was, with the state and all that, saying basically we're raising our tuition next year between 18 and 20%. So that's something that you look at. If we actually didn't change the budget next year, we would be short, let's say $800,000, and that was unexpected.
So did you just say they increased?
Yeah.
Their tuition?
And they have a right to. I mean, that's that. Unfortunately, they do have that right.
That's why we always try to advocate.
Yeah.
I was just going to say I'm a loss for words.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's I think, I'm not saying it's been a good thing, because I think we've kept the outside tuition with correct, some steady growth, but low growth. But this is huge. I mean, I think when I first got here, 9-10 years ago.
What is it per pupil right now? It was like 4,000, right?
I think it was close to, I want to say it's probably, there's two types. There's the elementary, middle school, and then the high school. Is secondary school is higher. So, I can get you the numbers, but I want to say it was like, high 4s, mid 5s.
No.
Now it's going to be mid to high 5s, higher 6. So, and that's what it is. When you think about it, if you have a 20% increase in a $5,000 tuition,
right.
Now it's $6,000. So I think I've seen an increase of about $800-900 per student. So if we're assuming the same amount of students, it's just the math. We're not looking at it and saying, oh, geez, we think we're going to send 10 more kids out there. Of course, that would be a higher increase. We're just basically saying we expect at minimum.
This is just what we have already outside.
Yeah, and it's unexpected. Now,
okay.
Things could change. And the other changes were they're minor, just little accounts and so forth, $26,000. Here's the next slide. One thing for new board members and some of the old board members, just talk a little excess special education grant. Over the last few years, we've received that back. I think people have to know that it's not always dollar for dollar. The state, recently we got something from the state that talked about that, the poor districts like Alliance districts, we're going to try to give you 75 cents on the dollar back. So what I did on the next page, I am actually giving you an example of excess costs. This is really a 5-year history in excess costs. So if you look at 21-22, that's what we received this year, $3,502,000. And for next year's budget, sometimes we do like a weighted average or a median, but really this is the median, the $3,502,000. So that's what's in the budget next year. If you take a student that costs you $100,000, you always use whatever your per pupil expenditure is from the prior year. So I know last year our cost was $15,331, so if you do the math, 4.5 times that, it'd be $68,900. If we paid $100,000 per student, we might pay $200,000 per student for that matter, but if you paid $100,000 at a 7% reimbursement, that means the district gets back $21,700. We do know, Mr. Spalding reminded me today, and I actually saw the communication that talked about alliance districts are going to do their best to make it at least 75 cents on the dollar. The other districts will start at 70%, and depending where you are, you ratchet up. So that's where right now, that's how the budget is built for next year. Kristen, next slide.
That one makes my head hurt, has made my head hurt for 6 years.
Yeah. So the next slide is just really just showing what's in the budget for next year for excess costs. If you go down to the contract expenditure, so the revenue itself that you get from excess costs comes back to the Board of Education. And it goes against your expenditure. So if I spend $10 and I get back $3, my expenditure is going to reflect $7. So it's called a contra expenditure. It's like a revenue, but we don't have revenue for Board of Education, so it goes against your expenditure. So next year we're estimating that we're going to get $3.5 million. We look at our budget and we know that, based on our best guess or our best actuals as of today, and if we use the same thing, we're going to, for public and state, it's going to be $1,388,000. We know that contra expenditure is going to be $369,000, and we know our budget is $1,019,000. Every year these numbers switch out. So this year has been a tougher year, but I would have to say in other years, not as tough because things happen this year. Other years you might see one account going up higher, another account going down. It's the same thing when I look at the outside services that People Service uses. That number has actually gone up, and this year has actually gone down, but the outside tuition has gone up. But they're all the same. It has to do with students that you're sending out. And that's really, I have something on third-party billing, just to let you know, and I mean, Kristen, go to that. That was Tina Santana sent a text to myself, and I believe, or an email to myself and yourself. And it's really, her question was on third-party billing. What happens to the revenue? And when you look at a third-party billing, it's really a special revenue fund. So if you look at funds for like the city of Britain General Fund, or any special revenue fund, you collect the revenue and you have the expenditure. You have a fund balance. So what you're seeing here in third-party billing, we're just basically showing what we think the expenditure is. The revenue that comes in goes against that fund. We don't receive dollar for dollar. So I don't want anybody believing that we spend $1 million and we get $1 million. That's not the case here. We have a fund balance out there. We spend $1 million or more, and we get $500,000 back. And when I look at the budget, or when I look at the expenditures during the year, if I see wiggle room, I will move dollars back to the local budget to keep that fund whole. I have to keep it whole. If you don't keep that fund whole, you're actually going to be written up by the auditor. So it is a whole fund, but it doesn't reimburse you dollar for dollar. You get 25 cents on a dollar, 50 cents on a dollar, 75 cents on a dollar. It fluctuates. And that's really it, just in the general fund budget. I know you have a lot in front of you tonight. I'm here to answer questions or...
Is that unrelated to the budget
presentation, but it's related to ADA?
Yes. Yeah, so no, I heard all the comments tonight. I see, I do understand. I mean, how do I put this? I mean, I do think the cameras are a big deal. Okay, we are actually working on an order from the state of Connecticut on the ADA stuff that should have been done, 15 years ago, and so we're out of compliance.
Right.
And I know, I'm aware of it. I know Superintendent Nancy Sarah is aware of it. So we're aware that we made a commitment. They know we're going forward with it.
So I guess I have my real question is, so it was originally 3.4. Right, or 4.4.
4.3, 4.4, yeah, I think
right?
it's 4.
So now it's 3.1.
Yeah.
And we were planning on requesting the total amount from our savings.
Well, the city set aside $2 million for us.
Right.
And I think the board and everybody made the commitment that we would find the other $2.4 million from, and more than likely it's not going to come from your self-insurance fund, but it's going to come from a transfer from health insurance down to improvements for that $2.4 million. So the city, we actually made the decision to hit the city's $2 million first, and then next year we would hit whatever is needed. You know, so I don't have an answer for you tonight. I mean, I do understand what the alderman is saying. I understand the urgency.
Because I was thinking like maybe the difference, like maybe we only have 500,000
Well,
in the city, so that way when the safety committee comes back, maybe it's.
Well, I do think, yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%. So I look at that 4.3 or 4, I think it was 4.4 originally, but you know, 4,359,000, so let's say it's 4.1, 3.1. You know, I do agree. The city set aside $2 million. I think the board made a commitment to spend the other $2.4 million. We're seeing, you know, 3.1 or change. So, you know, do I think we can reduce the city's $2 million to $1 million or something a bit like that, or a little lower maybe? Yeah, I think you can easily reduce it by $1 million, because I don't know at the end of the day, is something going to happen with this ADA stuff that, you know, there's a change order that, you know, comes in.
I wouldn't recommend doing it until like you need, like
Yeah.
until the ADA projects are done, because
Yeah.
that's the commitment. We are out of compliance 100%.
Yeah.
But if we're now a little bit lower,
Well,
maybe we can leave that money there.
Yeah, no, so yeah, you're right. So we are out of compliance, and I think we all know, like you with the out of compliance, we've been out of compliance for years. You know, it came to our attention that, you know, then it became an issue with doing new school construction. New school construction projects weren't supposed to go forward if you were ADA,
Right.
but
Right.
we've been out, you know, the state knew this for 20 years, but now it's an issue that we're out of compliance. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just a
Yeah.
thought after, you know, Alderman Zero brought it up, and then they did the presentation, and it's only 3.1 instead of 4.4,
Yeah.
so. maybe-
But you're right. I don't know how you, you know, right tonight they didn't ask you for, you know, I don't think they asked for approval to go forward to 3.1, but eventually, you know.
So that's a good point,
Yeah.
right? Because it was a presentation, but then I thought I heard Rebecca say,
I don't know if it's on the agenda.
it's not on the agenda as a voting.
You as a board would have to move
It
it
was
to
just
the
a
agenda.
presentation, but I
Yeah.
thought I heard her, I thought she had an expectation that we were
Oh.
voting on something tonight.
Yeah, we were, can you hear me guys?
Yep.
Can everyone hear? Yeah, we're going for a motion to approve the amendment to the contract with the new dollar amount.
All right, so I don't believe I see it on the agenda or in the packet. But is that that's not the new contract, that's just the
It's
GP
the
and.
GMP, yeah. The initial 4.3 was the proposed budget, and once the bidding started happening and the defined scope was created, then the dollar amount decreased to 3.1. So when we awarded the contract to Newfield, we provided a contract that stated 4.3, so we're just looking to amend the contract at this point.
All right, so I think we'll have to add something at the end of the.
Is there my question back, Rebecca, is there an actual contract out there? I mean, I know that, you know, you may have somebody coming back and saying it's 4.3 or 3.1, but I think the board needs an actual contract
That was gonna be my
to award
next.
something to, you know, Mr. Kane over there, whatever, 3.1 is pretty cool. But yeah, that's, yeah, I think the board needs.
Because GMP is just an exhibit, it's not the actual contract.
It should be a contract. Yeah, you need to act on a contract.
There is a notification of award that was awarded to Newfield for the project, so that's, you know, pretty much they said the approval to proceed with the awarding of the contract to Newfield Construction was provided during the New Britain Board of Education meeting held on Monday, the 18th, April 18th. So there is a notification of award.
Right, so we have the contract that we voted on for the 4.3, but you want us to re-vote on the amendment of 3.1.
That's
But
correct.
it's not, we don't have the contract in our packet. So,
Is Newfield still there?
no.
Okay, well, I can definitely do the groundwork there, research, and get back to you.
Shouldn't be a showstopper, right, because the contract is signed. If it's less than what I think we're okay, but that just stops the question of.
Yeah, I mean, you really want to see an amended contract.
Yeah,
You
no, I
know,
agree.
My only feeling on that is, there's a lot of stuff for safety that we're gonna need. And it's great that we have potential money coming in from the savings from this ADA, but we really need to start looking soon of what we could get safety compliance.
So I don't think we're out of compliance with safety.
No, we're not.
Right, we're not out of compliance, so
But
please
it's a
don't
wish
go
list.
there.
Yeah,
Right.
wish list.
ADA, we're seriously out of compliance, even to the point where if you have a child that needs something and we're not getting it, that's a very serious situation. I mean, I know the both.
Much different than and I don't wanna sound like, because I'm probably the most emotional person on this board, to sound insensitive, right? Our schools are safe. So I was gonna just say that I'm looking at, Smedley right now, you know, and again, and I totally know where people are coming from. I have that same sense of fear, and it's horrible what's happening.
So we are safe.
And it wouldn't hurt to have someone come in, look at our buildings, but start there, right? I mean, that doesn't cost, or if it does, it's minimal cost to look at. Well, we think we're okay. I know we've invested quite heavily with Alice training, with Stop the Bleed kits, with panic buttons, with just different things. And so maybe part of it is, you know, holding different forums, small group, to just say, we are safe, here's how we're safe. But also looking at someone come in and take a look, an objective look. And I would say that should be the next first step that we do, right? Right. I don't know, Smedley, did you have anything that you want to add to that?
No, other than continued funding is always important. For instance, Stop the Bleed kits need to be replaced every 3 to 5 years. The materials have expiration dates. So continually looking for other ways and new objectives as well. I mean, there's 100 new ideas out there for technology to continually increase the safety. But our schools are safe. We've made a lot of investment in policy, Alice, and technology. So.
And even the new security, I mean, the cameras, everything new, I mean, that is a part of that safety piece too, right? Making sure all that's
A
operational.
lot of the safety issues are to be addressed through the ADA modification too, I think.
I don't know about that, but I think the safety concerns have been like addressed through Alderman Smedley, Alderwoman Costa, who made like visits to the school to say, no, these things really don't happen, right? To the extent that it's been pumped up to be. So, but my request was, could we possibly, after you do your analysis, leave that money there?
Well,
if we can. If we can't, then I totally get it.
Yeah, no,
we are in a budget.
you're correct. I mean, you know,
You don't have to give me an answer.
Yeah, I don't have an answer, but I mean, $2 million can be probably reduced, and some of it probably could be used.
Here we are always underfunded. The city doesn't give us any money, but we're supposed to take money from ADA, which is out of compliance, to make the schools safer. What is the city doing to make the schools safer? Why should it be just the school system that has to pay for this? This city belongs to all of us, not just the board of ed. So I don't think we should be pinching pennies. We need to get compliance, because it's not fair for that group of students that we say, oh, you've been out of compliance for 16 years and we can go however many more because of this. There are other ways to make the schools safe, and the city needs to take some responsibility for it and stop dropping everything in our lap.
Well, that's just it. I think we gotta get the ADA done first, and we've talked about having a safety committee, and I think that's gonna be one of the first tasks of the safety committee is to do an audit, look over and see what areas we need our immediate fixes and which ones could be wish list fixes and which ones could be, it'd be great if you could do this, but if you don't, you can't. But right now, we don't know.
So,
Rebecca has her hand up.
yeah, I was gonna say, Rebecca.
Yes, can you all hear me okay? Yep. I do want to say that there are many things we could be doing right now without spending money to improve upon the emergency crisis plans, you know, our equipment, our hardware that we've installed, our panic wall buttons, under desk buttons, and, you know, kind of collaborating with emergency management, Homeland Security, and first responders to really meet and all be on the same page. There's still a lot of work that we could be doing on the ground right now to improve upon our systems, although we are safe, but to just continue that work and make sure that everybody across the district is on the same page when we are having drills, shooter drills, all of the evacuation drills that we need to be having. So that's an investment that we can do right now without having to spend any money.
And Connecticut does have one of the strictest school construction rules for safety. And I know a lot of our reconstruction project, Chamberlain and Smalley, that we're done with that in mind, so.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
So, I appreciate it, thank you. Thank you for, like, it was probably a can of worms I should have just talked.
Thank you for keeping this meeting going, my last meeting.
Hey, you know what, keep it lively, right? So I do apologize for that, that's probably.
Somebody's gotta do it, Tina's not here.
That's true. All right.
I do have a lot of concerns about the budget, which I brought up a couple months ago, but I've talked with Mr. Kane, I've talked with Dr. Gasper, and I pretty much decided that, I'll approve the budget as presented, but we're gonna sit down in the summertime, as he starts getting data in, starts looking over things, as an eye for next year's budget.
Right, and that is absolutely, that's part of our job, but to make recommendations, not tell them where to cut postage.
Well, that's coming.
That's gonna be there till the day you die. All right, so.
I'm gonna buy you a book of stamps.
I know.
The audience is.
Any other for Mr. Kane with a K? Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Consent agenda. Anybody would like to pull anything off the consent agenda? Going once, going twice, going. All right. No, seriously, anybody? All right, so under new business, don't vote on consent, correct?
Nope.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to approve the superintendent's budget request for 2022-2023 fiscal year.
To make a statement, I will make a motion to.
Second.
Next year, don't count it.
I was gonna say, don't have any discussion. I do have one point that I would like to make, and I know that I went in front of council, and I wanna say it again to Ms. Parker, this year we did not request money from the city, we kept it flat, and I think we know why. We had 72 million in ESSER funds, but I think we proved tonight a little bit that we see results with the supports we have in place. So we're gonna need to find the money after ESSER runs out, so.
And that is one of my concerns, is that we count on ESSER, we count on all these grants.
Well,
some of these grants are temporary.
But we needed to do that, right? But you see how it worked. So our request, I think, going forward to the state, to whoever will listen to the city, that here's the numbers, these supports work. So that's my.
Yeah, because they use those numbers to not give money, so.
Right, to say our scores stink, but this is what happens when we have the supports in place. So that was my 2 cents. Anybody else have any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Your last budgets. I'm getting sadder by the minute. Okay,
I don't think I share that sentence.
Item B, review school uniform survey results for 2022-2023. Are they in our packet?
No, I've been pulling them as they're still coming in right now.
Oh.
The results, so I just updated.
Ooh, look, it's
I mean, the numbers are low in terms of participating. Out of fairness to that. So, after the call, we had about 100 before the call went out. And then after the call, we got about another 200. So now we are approaching 394 at this point. That's it.
When did we send this out?
We sent it out, the call went, I think, Thursday, I'm gonna say, no, maybe Wednesday. It definitely went later in the week. So I do have the results for that right now. I don't know if you want to see them yet based on those numbers, if you want to keep pushing them out.
9,000. What's on that?
Now, this is only, remember, you only wanted to survey your K through 8. So that meant PK to grade 7 specifically. We really didn't want to get input from an 8th grade parent
600 per grade
if they're
level?
going to 9th grade. So yeah, it's still quite low. I mean, you should be about 4,000.
Yeah. I did see some comments, people are a little bit.
Oh, I've seen a lot of comments, right, I got Robert Gould to that, what can I say last? So, maybe preliminary?
Sure, I have them ready to just share. I can, absolutely. So in terms of the results, as I mentioned, 394, it's largely split. There's two ways to look at these results because there's a response per student, as well as, you know, a parent at that point could respond because they're responding for 3, that's a singular person responding. So I can actually show it in 2 different ways, basically. So what I'm showing you right now is the 394 per kid, you know, 1-to-1 per student. And as you see, the results are looking at a slight yes with 219 to the nose at 175. Let me see if I can maybe boost up that a little bit here for you.
Still gotta go, like, this is what we took to heat for last year, right? Not listening to the survey results.
But the survey last year, I think, was split down the middle, wasn't it?
No. Well, it was higher, and then they sent out the survey to break it down to 3 questions. But if you added the 2 results together, they were split. Like if somebody says, yes, they want it, but they want to be able to modify, that's a yes, you want the uniform in my head.
At least this survey is very cut and dry, right?
Yes or
Yes
no.
or no.
Yes
So
or
there's no middle ground or trying to
Right.
figure in between how they voted for it in terms of it. I do have it broken out by school and by grade level if you wanted to see it in any other way, then.
You had mentioned like a parent with multiple. So, because in my head, you're voting 3 times.
Correct. So this is showing it with that, say, 3 vote for the parent, and with a little adjustment on my pivot table. Let me just, instead of showing the count A, let's show the count unique on response. And now it goes down to 280 responses as individuals. And yes is still slightly beating no, but in both cases, they're all slight. You know, it's not resounding.
That's not a good.
It's not a good sample.
No.
It's tough. We can certainly keep pushing you know, it was kind of not sure how quick you wanted to act. I know timing is everything as well. But if you want us to keep sending out for those that we haven't collected a response for yet, because we did, like I said, get a few hundred in that one call right away. If we can keep doing that for a certain amount of time that you want me to, we would.
Yeah, so because, like it's a relatively new board, we have a new superintendent coming on, we will have a July meeting, and I know like moms, I know Alderwoman Costa, I don't know about anybody, other moms, like, is July too late? You have kids, you still have kids in the district, okay?
Yeah.
So is July, sorry.
Just wanted to say that.
Just we count.
Oh, she's here. Yeah, she's hiding behind. So is July, because last time we didn't meet till August.
At least you're gonna be before the sales.
So, yeah.
You know,
I'm out of the loop.
and the tax break.
Yeah.
July.
The tax, yeah, July will work.
So it's looking like July 11th,
Yeah,
right? So do we keep the survey? I think we keep the survey till,
you have less than 10% that responded.
Yeah,
So,
like that's
yeah,
a
probably,
bad subset.
you know, yeah.
And we can keep the calls up and keep pushing out for those that haven't cast
Yeah.
already. So that way people are also not getting a call if they've already done it, because I
Yeah.
find that very annoying. Personally.
And with the
You
year,
get that.
with the
Same.
year closing down, there's activities, right? They're like hustle bustling through a lot of things. Maybe when things settle
Right.
and they've got a little time, they can focus on taking that survey. I'm optimistic. I'm always an optimist.
I
So
know you are.
I'm thinking that maybe that'll help with the numbers too.
Okay.
So July is fair.
Yeah, please, I'll put it in my speech. Yes. All right, I'm gonna put it in my speech. Okay, so how does anybody else feel about that, leaving the survey open until July 11th? Or before July 11th, that's our next meeting,
Right.
more than likely is July 11th. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, but we would vote, we would have a.
We would have a
on the
vote,
policy
definite
for that
answer.
agenda.
Yeah. So, because it is reviewed, that's the results of it. Because I don't know why we're blue and white, but anyway.
Blue and white.
Blue and white
I
tops.
think they just decided on whatever.
It was just
easiest,
weird.
like,
I was-
What is the easiest?
I had
to find in
COVID.
the
I wasn't-
stores. Yeah.
I didn't catch that until I read it. I'm like, blue and white, and tan and white went there.
What's that called?
Yeah,
Budget
I think
brain?
it was trying to think about what the stores carry, what's easiest for the parents to find.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember some talk about there was never enough bleach for white shirts.
Oh my
but-
gosh, I hated that.
Oh my God, yeah.
But
My
you
son, it was
find them.
red or white.
Taco Day at elementary, school, fun.
All right, thank you. All right, so, item C, I'll entertain a motion to approve purchase order and bid waiver for abatement of asbestos-containing materials at Slade Middle School.
Wasn't that the one we?
I need a
I'll take a
motion.
motion to accept the inspection.
Yeah,
Second.
a second.
Second.
All right, discussion.
Wasn't that one you had a question on the insurance?
Absolutely.
Ms. Gonzalez is still on and she has an update about the insurance.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello?
Correction. I was able to get connected with an agent who I spoke with on Friday with the insurance company. And I sent him over all the project details. It looks like the remediation and replacement of the gym floor would be covered under this project. And those are numbers that we have not included in the work or the proposal that we've submitted to you for 120 and 137. That's separate, and that could cost up to about $200,000. He also did mention that the mold and asbestos, regarding that there are quite a few limits or sub-limits when it comes to that, but they believe that the mold will be covered up to about $100,000 limit. Asbestos is typically included, but there may be some coverages if asbestos is damaged. They are going to move forward with submitting the claim. They were doing that today. And the carrier is going to have to review the coverages and get more details to us on the damages in order to make a final determination on coverages. But again, we're looking at for remediation and restoration for the two separate proposals that we've submitted, about $257,000. And if they deduct $100,000 from that we're still looking at $157,000, not inclusive of the gym project, the new gym floor that we're going to have to lay out. So that's the update that I have from the insurance carrier, and I should have more information by Wednesday as to the final commitment for coverages. So thank you for the direction to contact the city, because it's panned out for us.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for following through with that.
Yeah, of course.
So just a quick point of information clarification, the item C for 137 includes abatement of all asbestos in all areas we've been discussing, the 4 classrooms, tile in one of the classrooms, the under the gym floor, and the damaged gym floor. The only thing that's not on here, as Ms. Gonzalez stated, is the price of a new replacement floor for the gym.
Right. And that's what's possibly covered up to $100,000. Okay.
What's covered up to $100,000 is the asbestos and mold removal.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Not the gym floor replacement.
Not the new floor, no, so it would kind of wash the abatement process out.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, any questions for Mr. Smedley? Alderman Smedley?
So, right now, we're approving the abatement and the remediation and restoration of the floor. So, okay, we got.
Yeah, that's like
the floor in there, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, not a question.
So basically, we approve the 2 items totaling to 257, with the hope we're getting 100,000 off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Either way, we gotta get them done.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, either way, it has to happen, right? Like, whether we pay for it or it gets paid for by insurance, but at least we know that there's a possibility of an insurance reimbursement. So, any other questions? No. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Item D, I will entertain a motion to approve a purchase order and bid waiver for remediation and restoration work at Slade Middle School.
Second.
All right. Any questions? We kind of covered it under both. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions, motion carries. Now, are we adding? No, we don't, because we don't have the contract. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, you're gonna cry now?
No.
Motion adjourned.